This is the Rookie Big Board Rookie Profile Series. I'm your host, Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, back here with John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar, to talk about Michigan running back Blake Corum. John, for some folks, Blake Corum is running back one. He's certainly been a super exciting player to watch the past few seasons for anybody in college football, but you, as a Michigan fan, John, have been uniquely positioned to watch Blake Corum over the last couple of years and enjoy this very talented prospect. So before we jump into it, John, I just want to throw out here, if you're watching on YouTube, if this video helps you at all, give it a like, drop us a quick comment either about Blake Corum or any question about your rookie drafts. And if you're listening, by the way, I know we always do the YouTube bit. Our listen downloads, like those who are doing the podcast version, exponentially higher than the video. So I just want to give you all a quick shout out as well. We appreciate that. Really almost record numbers, John, in the first week of rookie profiles for downloads on the podcast. So shout out to you all. We appreciate you as well. And John, Blake Corum, the start of our next series of rookie profiles here. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it.
Matt, I've been watching Michigan football since 1977. I've seen Tyrone Wheatley, Anthony Thomas, Tim Biakabatuka, Mike Hart. I've seen all the great running backs. I'll tell you right now, Corum is the best prospect of all of them. I mean, the next closest would be Tyrone Wheatley, who had some nice years. He was on your Giants if you were old enough. You remember Tyrone Wheatley? Tyrone Wheatley was a member of the Giants and the Raiders. But Corum is the best of all the Michigan running backs I've seen. And for the past 2 years, I've had the pleasure of watching this man dominate college football. In high school, he earned the Gatorade Player of the Year in Maryland, and he had earned a 4-star grade. But believe it or not, he was kind of under the radar. He wasn't one of those young men coming into college with all this hoopla. He was named unanimous All-American in 2022 and All-American the last 2 years for the two-time Big Ten champs. They only lost 2 games over that period. Just simply incredible. And last year, he garnered a career best 258 carries for 1,245 yards. And he set a single season's touchdown record with 27 scores, Matt. Unbelievable for the Michigan running back. The fourth-year runner was the team captain and the Amici Dane Big Ten Running Back of the Year award winner. He was also a finalist for the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year and Werfel Trophy. I mentioned those because the coaching staff and organization is going to really like this young man in the interview process. In 2022, Corum was also captured the Amici Dane Big Ten Rushing Back of the Year. That year, he scampered for 1,463 yards, which was his career best, and he scored 18 times on 247 carries. And you go even back to his sophomore year in 2021, and that was the year with Hassan Haskins on the roster, and Haskins ended up being drafted by Tennessee. But Corum still had 952 yards on only 144 carries, averaging a career-high 6.6 yards per carry. After 4 seasons, he concluded his tenure as the all-time leader in rushing touchdowns, total touchdowns, and points scored with 356. He finished 7th in program history with 3,737 rushing yards. Matt, what's your film study say about Corum?
I got to tell you, John, whether you're watching Blake Corum live or whether you're watching the film breaking him down, there is a lot to appreciate about his running style and a lot to appreciate about the consistency he brings. So let's go ahead, John. Let's get into the breakdown here, starting with vision and strength. Those are 2 things that really pop out to me. I know you look at his, numbers on paper, John, 5'8", 200, 205, right around that, depending on the measurement you're working in. But he plays big. He takes on Big Ten defenders, John, with success. He's physical. He's tenacious. He's aggressive when he's running the ball. And this is a really important thing I want to point out here. He's efficient in short yardage and goal line type situations. John, it reminds me of a guy like Aaron Jones, right? Like Aaron Jones, not the biggest frame, but ended up being a pro who had a pretty high amount of goal line, touchdowns throughout his career. And that's what made him fantasy relevant for so long. I see a lot of that in Blake Corum's physicality and strength as well. In terms of his vision, John, he's a patient runner. He sees space very well, But what really jumps out to me about Blake Corum is his ability to successfully read cutback lanes. That's not something that you see from a lot of collegiate running backs, but it is a big plus for me when I'm analyzing the vision. In terms of his athleticism, he's a shifty runner, John. He's got very subtle elusiveness. He's not going to break you out of your shoes, totally juke the defenders out, but he knows how to shift his body. He knows how to work with his feet in order to make guys miss and change direction well. Now, he's not going to be the fastest guy on the field. I think that's his limitation. He's not going to be the guy in Indianapolis that jumps out and gets you all excited when you plug him into the model with that 40 time. But he's got good burst off the line of scrimmage. He's got, he gets off the snap well, and he's quick enough to get to the edge. I think really where his limitation is acceleration, and that's going to show up in the 40-yard dash time. So don't get too excited about that, and don't overreact to that. The Michigan running backs, John, it was more often Donovan Edwards that was the extension of the passing game. But when Blake Corum was on the field, he was a reliable check down option, and it's not sexy, John, but in pass protection, he's got a great anchor, and he reads blitzing assignments very well in pass protection. So again, the size, it's not a concern for me, John. I think you can leave him out there on third down. You can have him in short yardage situations. You can have him in goal line situations. He's my running back too, and I think he's pretty much locked into that running back 2 spot. That's an aggressive statement to make this early on in the draft cycle, but I feel pretty confident in it. After watching Blake Corum tape, John, there is a lot to like. Just like there is a lot to like with all of the resources that we have available over at patreon.com/rookieBigBoard, including the full scouting report that these notes are taken from that I just broke down there, in-depth rookie rankings. Nobody's doing it deeper. Every single player declared for the NFL draft is in our rookie rankings. And most importantly, John, the personalized access and advice in the Rookie Big Board Discord. So with that being said, we've talked about the tape, John. It's time to talk about the numbers.
The first thing I had to get over as a scout, not a fan, is he's 5'8", 200. And he does look small. But Matt, he plays big. Like, you've got to watch him down after down. Like, you need to see the totality of the game that he plays. Watch the game against Alabama. Watch the championship game against Washington. And those are just the games to win it all. But you can go back to the 2 Ohio State games. You can go and see so much of his just physicality. And I've said it before, I measure a back inside out. Matt, for a smaller player, he runs so well between the tackles. And you mentioned his touchdown equity and ability at the goal line is outstanding. If you look at these numbers now, everyone, 5.5 yards per carry. I really like that over his career. His scrimmage yards, you had mentioned that he wasn't the pass catching down back, but when you watch him, Matt, he's pretty good of a receiver. Like, he's well above average. I'm not going to put him in the upper echelon, but he's good enough. And there are some routes where he's running a little further down the field than is normal for a Michigan back. His scrimmage yard percentage, 24%. Absolutely love that. He did have 56 career receptions, so he was used in the game, and 25 runs of over 10 yards by PFF. Matt, I really like this man. I like him so much. He's the top of my board right now before the combine. He does everything well. What should fantasy fans know, Matt?
Yeah, right off the bat, you have to understand, if you've been watching the rookie profiles every year that we've been doing this, you know John loves big backs. So I think it says a lot about Blake Corum that he's atop your list despite the size limitations that we've talked about. But let's get into the translation here. What does this all mean when it comes to fantasy football? Starting, John, with the NFL draft projection, I think he's going to be a day 2 late selection. So that's the back end of round 2, early round 3, picks 51 to 102 overall. And we mentioned this with Braylon Allen in that video breakdown. That could still put you as the first running back off the board in this class, right? So it's going to be good draft capital relative to his classmates for sure. I think his ADP, John, it's going to land, in my opinion, in that 201 to 204 range in a Superflex rookie draft, right? So we're talking early second round. I do think there's some leagues where he'll go in the first round, because you're not the only one that I've heard out there with Blake Corum as their running back one. In most rookie drafts, we'll probably have one, maybe two running backs going in the first round. And Blake Corum definitely could be that guy. So maybe I'm manifesting a little bit. I want him in the second round because that's where I'm willing to get some exposure to him. There's going to be a lot of wide receivers that I like early in the second round, but I'm definitely going to make sure to get about a 25% exposure to Blake Corum because I want him on my roster. And you know how I build my rosters, John. It's zero running back, it's hero running back. So it relies on nailing some of those rookie running back picks. And Blake Corum in the second round, give it the chef's kiss, John. That is a good spot to get him. I think he's going to be in that weekly starter tier for me. So not a guy who's putting up top 12 running back, week in and week out, but solid production, top 16 running back, top 20 running back, and half or more of those in his rookie season. So I think he can come in and make an immediate contribution. And I want to clarify here. So if you're looking at the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my fantasy football value comp is Najee Harris. It's not a stylistic comp. It's not a size comp, because we had some confusion in the first week of the profiles here. It is my value comp. So if you were thinking about where you would take Blake Corum in a startup dynasty draft right now, I think it's just about the same spot you would take Najee Harris, right? And that's taking into account that I still think that Najee Harris is an undervalued asset, but he's not very popular. He's going to go around running back 15, running back 16 off the board in a dynasty startup. And I think that's an appropriate spot for Blake Corum. I think that's the type of production he's going to have. And overall, we talked down about this running back class, but overall, John, that's a really nice spot to be in. A really nice value to get there with Blake Corum. So I'm a fan of him, John. You're a fan of him. And I hope that all of our viewers and all of our listeners are a fan of these profile breakdowns. If you are, make sure to subscribe, whether you're watching or whether you're listening, and make sure to head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard and get in on this action every day. These are the conversations. These are the breakdowns. This is the type of advice that we are giving in the Rookie Big Board Discord all day, every day. As always, we appreciate you checking out this rookie profile.